My name is Sarah. This is my story. It happened in the year 2015. It changed my life forever. That morning was a normal morning. Nothing felt strange. Nothing felt different. I woke up early. I put on my gym clothes. I kissed my husband on the cheek. His name is Mark. He was standing in the kitchen. He was washing the breakfast dishes. "I will be back soon," I said. "Okay, honey," he said. "Have a good workout." I smiled at him. Then I left the house. I drove to the gym. I did not know this would be the last normal morning of our old life. I was at the gym for only 20 minutes. I was lifting weights. My phone rang. It was Mark. I answered it. "Hey, what's up?" His voice sounded strange. It sounded tight, scared. "Something is wrong," he said. "Something is really wrong. I feel like there's a golf ball stuck in my throat. You need to come home. You need to take me to the hospital. Now." My heart stopped for 1 second. Then it started racing. "Call 911, I said. "Call an ambulance." No, don't call 911. Just come home. Please, come home now." I do not know why he said that. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he did not want to wait. Maybe, deep inside, some part of him already knew. He knew this was serious. He wanted me, only me. I dropped the weights. I did not even change my clothes. I ran to my car. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I do not remember most of that drive. I only remember one thought in my head, again and again. Please be okay. Please be okay. Please be okay. I made it home in 10 minutes. 10 minutes felt like 10 years. When I turned onto our street, I saw him. He was standing outside our front door. The door was locked behind him. He was standing there, alone, waiting for me. His face was pale, so pale, almost gray. He was holding his chest with one hand. I stopped the car. I did not even close my door properly. I ran to him. "Get in," I said. "Get in the car. We are going right now." He nodded. He could barely speak. He got into the passenger seat slowly, carefully, like every movement hurt him. I drove to the hospital. I drove faster than I have ever driven in my life. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing, but I kept my eyes on the road. I kept telling myself, "Stay calm, stay calm. He needs you to stay calm." We reached the emergency room. Nurses rushed to us. They put Mark on a bed. They wheeled him away through big double doors. I could not follow him. I stood there, alone, in a cold, bright hallway. I did not know it yet, but our whole world was about to change. The doctors ran tests, fast tests, urgent tests. I sat in the waiting room. I could not sit still. I stood up. I sat down. I stood up again. I walked in small circles. Then a doctor came to me. His face was serious, too serious. "Mrs. Sarah," he said, "your husband's aorta has ruptured." I did not understand. "What does that mean?" He explained slowly. The aorta is the biggest blood vessel in the human body. It carries blood from the heart to the rest of the body. Mark's aorta had torn open. Blood was trying to escape from it. Only one small blood clot was blocking the tear. That tiny blood clot was the only thing keeping my husband alive. If that clot moved even one small inch, he would bleed inside his body. He would die within minutes. My knees felt weak. I had to hold on to a chair. "We need to operate right now," the doctor said. "This is a very rare, very dangerous surgery. I must be honest with you. There is a very high chance he will not survive." I could not speak. I could not breathe properly. I just nodded because I had no other choice. There was no other option. Surgery was the only chance, the only hope. They took Mark into the operating room. The surgery lasted 8 hours. 8 hours! 480 minutes. I counted every single one of them. I sat in the waiting room the whole time. I did not eat. I did not really drink water. Friends came. Family came. People spoke to me, but their words felt far away, like I was underwater. I kept thinking about our life together, our wedding day, our small arguments about silly things, our Sunday morning breakfasts, our future, our plans. Would he see any of it? Would we grow old together like we always said we would? I prayed. I am not sure I had ever prayed so hard in my life. Finally, after 8 long hours, the surgeon walked out. His scrubs were still on. His face looked tired, but calm. "He made it through surgery," the surgeon said. "He's alive, but the next hours are still critical. We are not out of danger yet." I cried. I cried so much right there in that hallway. Tears of relief, tears of fear, tears of hope, all mixed together. I later learned something important. This surgery, the exact surgery Mark needed, the surgeon had only performed it one time before in his whole career. One time. And somehow, on this day, in this hospital, that very surgeon was the one on duty, the one who saved my husband's life. When I tried to thank him, when I tried to tell him how grateful I was, he just looked at me and said simply, "I give all the glory to God." I stayed at the hospital that whole night. I sat next to Mark's bed. I watched him breathe. I watched the machines beep softly. I held his hand, even though he was still unconscious. I did not want to let go. By morning, the doctors told me Mark was stable enough that I could go home for a few hours, just to rest, just to shower, just to breathe, even for a little while. I did not want to leave him, but my body was exhausted. My eyes could barely stay open. So, finally, I agreed. I drove home alone. The house felt so empty without him, so quiet, so different from the morning before, when he was standing right there in the kitchen, washing dishes, telling me to have a good workout. I walked into the kitchen, and that is when I saw it. A small piece of paper sitting on the kitchen counter. It was a note in his handwriting. I picked up the note with shaking hands. He must have written it that morning, in those few minutes between calling me and waiting outside our locked front door. In those terrifying minutes when he did not know if he would survive the day, when he did not know if he would ever see me again, he took the time to write me a message. I do not want to repeat his exact private words to me here. Some things are just too personal, too precious to share word for word. But I can tell you this. It was not a note about fear. It was not a note about pain, even though he must have felt so much pain in that moment. It was a note about love. He wrote about how much he loved me. He wrote about our life together. He wrote words of comfort, as if he was trying to protect me even while he himself was the one in danger. Even in his most frightening moment, his very last thought was not for himself. It was for me. He wanted to make sure that if he did not survive, I would know, without any doubt, just how deeply and completely he loved me. I stood in that kitchen and cried harder than I had ever cried before. Not just tears of sadness, tears of overwhelming love. I could not believe that even while dying, even while terrified, he thought of me first. I held that note against my chest for a long, long time. That was in 2015. Today, years later, Mark is alive. He is healthy. He is strong. We still have our silly little arguments. We still have our quiet Sunday breakfast together. We still wash the dishes together, just like any normal, ordinary day. But we do not take those ordinary days for granted anymore. Not after what we went through. Not after that morning that almost took him away from me forever. That little note, it did not stay on the kitchen counter for long. I found a small pink keepsake box. I placed the note gently inside it, and that box now sits in a special place in our home. Every single time I look at it, I remember that day. I remember the fear. I remember the 8 long hours of waiting. I remember the surgeon's tired, kind face. I remember the words, "I give all the glory to God." And most of all, I remember this. Even in the darkest, scariest moment of his life, my husband's very last thought was love. That note taught me something I will never forget. Love is not only shown in the good, easy, happy times. Real love, true love, shows itself most clearly in the hardest moments, in the moments we are most afraid. I am grateful every single day that I still get to love him, that I still get to hold his hand, that I still get to hear his voice. Some love stories are written in flowers and chocolates. Ours was written in 10 shaky, terrified minutes on a small piece of paper on the worst and somehow also the most beautiful day of our lives. Thank you for reading this story with me. If this touched your heart, remember, tell the people you love how much they mean to you. Today, not tomorrow.